Did you know that the Spanish dish isn't pronounced paella or paella, but rather paella? Now that we've gotten it out of the way, that's right, paella is that one dish that will surely impress your guests. And just look at those colors, doesn't it remind you of a Christmas tree? Want to make paella the star of your Christmas dinner? Stick around because I'm about to show you just how. In this video, I will show you 3 chef's tricks that will make your paella pop and impress your guests every time. And here are the 3 tricks. Number 1, make the perfect seafood broth. Number 2, make the perfect rice that is neither overcooked nor undercooked. Number 3, getting that wok hei. Yes, you heard me right. It's called the socarrat. More about that later. And now let's go shopping. The first thing to get the perfect seafood broth is to use the right ingredients, of course. We want to get as fishy a flavor as possible, the so-called essence of the ocean. So let's head down to the supermarket. Aha, exactly what I need. Mussels, clams, squid, shrimps, and this little crab should do the trick nicely. Now that we are all ready, let's get down to the broth. First, we want to toast the flower crab and the shrimp heads and shells with a little oil. Add water to deglaze, bring it to a boil, and then add some of the other ingredients, mussels and the clams. Let this simmer for at least 30 minutes. And then blanch the squid in for about 2 minutes to impart even more seafood goodness. To intensify the flavors, you can add some all-purpose seasoning, but that's entirely optional. And here's a very important tip, exactly how much water to add to the broth. You want to maximize flavors. So the trick is to add slightly more than is needed to cook the rice. For example, if I'm cooking 4 cups of rice, I will prepare about 5 or 6 cups of broth. And that will give you the perfect seafood broth, maximizing all the flavors from your ingredients. And let's move on to the rice. Traditionally, you cook the rice in the paella pan with the broth. But unless you're an expert, the rice will either end up too dry or too soggy. So here's a tip. Partially cook your rice in the rice cooker first. Cook the rice in rice cooker with the broth. For 4 cups of rice, just add 3 cups of broth. This way, your rice will be partially cooked. In the meantime, let's prepare our sofrito, which is a flavorful base made by sautéing finely chopped onions, garlic, red and green peppers, and tomatoes in olive oil. And then I top it off with tomato puree. Add herbs if you wish, and fry until fragrant. Now add the partially cooked rice into the mix, and add a healthy amount of turmeric powder, say 1 tablespoon for color. Unless you are a billionaire, you may add saffron instead. But meanwhile, back on Earth, mix well until the sofrito and colors are well distributed. After this, you want to avoid touching or moving the rice. Now you can add 1 and up to 2 cups of broth progressively until you get the right consistency. Earlier, I marinated some chicken in soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce, sugar, pepper and garlic powder. Now let's stuff some of these into the paella. Now a word from our sponsors, the socarrat. The best part of the paella is the socarrat, or the caramelized layer of rice that forms at the bottom of the pan. Unless your guest knows all about paella and socarrat, don't be expecting them to be digging at the bottom of the pan for the best parts. And then they miss the best part of the paella. So here's my trick. And now for the assembly. Now that the rice is nearly about right, you can hear some crackling at the bottom of the pan, which means the socarrat has already been formed. So all that's left to do is to steam up the rest of the seafood, lay up the prawns, the mussels and the squids, and let this cook for another 5 to 10 minutes, and we are done. And now for the final touches. To finish off the plating, I add in more green and red bell peppers for color, sprinkle some parsley, raisins for the Christmas season, and yup, that's looking pretty good. And now let's wrap this up as a present with the cherry tomatoes. This, my friends, is the perfect Christmas paella.